It's a galactically stupid idea to make a vehicle that is basically an economic write-off when one part of the vehicle goes. Just one part. Fleet News, November 20th, 2025. EV battery health debate reveals warranty wrangles and a confidence gap. Warranty wrangles. I wonder why that would be, because batteries have, 7 or 8 year, 150,000 mile warranties? Do they? Why are all these vehicles in the auction as non-runners when they're within the warranty period? Why do the people sell them as a non-runner and get buttons when they could just take it to the local dealer, get a new battery, and then sell it as a vehicle that runs? Why do you think they do that? Why do you think they don't get them repaired? EVs don't need servicing. Well, I suppose they don't, if you want to null and void your warranty. Good business, isn't it? Tell everybody that they don't need servicing, and then if anything goes wrong with them, say, well, you've not had it serviced, so I'm sorry, but your battery's not covered. Your £15,000 battery is not covered. In the case of a Porsche Taycan, your £50,000 battery isn't covered. I saw an advert on Auto Trader probably about 12 months ago. Porsche Taycan for sale. I think it was 56 grand. It was for sale for 56 grand. It said it had just had a new battery fitted and the warranty bill was 56 grand. So basically, all the car is worth nothing. Absolutely ridiculous. It's a galactically stupid idea to make a vehicle that is basically an economic write-off when one part of the vehicle goes. Just one part. And when you take it a little bit further, if the battery's 50% of the car and you're getting at the moment 30 to 40% discount off the EV when it's new, then as it comes out of the showroom, if anything goes wrong with the battery, the vehicle is an economic write-off when it's brand new. How does that make sense? Who would make a product and then give it a 7 or 8 year battery warranty when if the battery goes, you're just going to decimate your profits? There's no profit, it's a minus. You've given money away. I mean, they're already giving money away, selling them. They're already selling them for less than it costs them to make, hoping to get to saturation point when then they'll be able to start charging properly, or what they think's properly. Do you know what'll happen then? Used ICE cars will go up, because when they put the price of EVs up, people won't buy them. So used ICE vehicles, their prices will go through the roof because people will start buying them instead of a new EV. Does that not stand to reason to anybody else? Is it just me? I'm sure you'll leave me your comments on your opinion. So the story was written by Simon Harris on the 20th of November 2025. Now, don't forget, EVs don't need servicing. So, service history could be of far greater importance for electric vehicles, EVs, than battery health certificates. Well, no, it couldn't, because a battery health certificate tells you the state of health when you buy the car. Then it's of secondary importance about its service history. That was according to panellists at the Vehicle Remarketing Association, VRA, conference yesterday. That was Wednesday, November the 19th, who debated the efficacy of formal battery certification. Well, do you know why they've done that? Because they're trying to take the importance of a battery health certificate away, because pretty much all the EVs you see advertised don't have a certificate, and it's causing massive problems in the sales. So now they're giving you even more bull that the battery state of health certificate isn't important, that you should look at the service history. Why are they doing that? because most of the EVs they sell will have low mileage, and they don't want you asking for a battery health certificate, just in case there's anything wrong with it. Plus, these vehicles won't have needed a service, so that doesn't matter. So what they're doing is negating the need for a battery state of health certificate, because probably the vehicle hasn't needed a service yet. So they're just so desperate. They know very well, as with BCA started doing battery state of health certificates, and now all of a sudden there's not so many showing up with faulty batteries. I've been watching them for the last couple of weeks, and it's only one in a blue moon, whereas it was 5 or 6 every day. So what are they doing? Are the batteries better, or are they just not publishing the certificate? I'll leave that to you to decide, with claims that it's a vital tool for consumer confidence, encouraging them to buy a used EV. It's absolutely essential. If you buy an EV without seeing a battery state of health certificate, then you're an idiot. And the other thing is, if you buy an EV without seeing a battery state of health certificate and then going on the internet to check that it's not being photoshopped, you're an idiot. If you don't have your EV checked at least every 3 months, I would say, you're an idiot, because you could be driving around in a time bomb. You could be charging a time bomb up your drive while your family's asleep in bed. If you are the owner of an EV and it sets on fire up your drive and kills somebody, you should be charged with manslaughter. If you haven't got a recent battery state of health certificate, then you should get sent to prison. Extreme? Who knows? It's only the same, really. If there's anything faulty on a gasoline car, a petrol car, a diesel car, there's anything faulty and you know about it and it's the cause of an accident, you're liable. So why not the same with batteries? But there were also warnings that the few cases where batteries might fall below the standard set in the warranty, the vehicle's service history could come under increased scrutiny. Well, it does, because I saw a Maxus for sale in BCA and it had done 10,000 miles and the battery was goosed. So I rang the local Maxus dealer. The first question he asked was, did it have the 3,000 mile check over? Because if it didn't, it's not covered by warranty. That's just a check over, it's not a service. That was the first thing. 3,000 miles. Lorna McAteer, head of fleet at National Grid, delivered a paradoxical dual viewpoint that highlighted the current industry dilemma. Yeah, well, it's not an industry dilemma, it's customer dilemma. I'll give you 2 viewpoints, McAteer told the audience of VRA members. 1, it's a waste of time. 2, actually, it's needed for consumer confidence. Anybody referring to it as a waste of time is an imbecile. As you know, if you watched my previous videos, I followed a car that went through British car auctions. It came back a couple of weeks later. I wondered why. In the description, it said fire risk. It was sold as a fire risk with the battery disconnected. I got in touch with the person who bought it, and he told me it needed a new ECU. Now, in my opinion, that vehicle with a new ECU and then programmed was an uneconomic repair. But most of all, BCA shouldn't have been selling it. They shouldn't have had it on their premises. I spoke to the local fire brigade near BCA. They put the traded standards onto me. I spoke to Trading Standards. He said he'd check it out and get back to me. And do you know what? He didn't. I've emailed him probably a dozen times to ask what the result was. I actually know the result. I know very well what the result is because I checked it myself. I followed it myself and waited till it appeared for sale. But the trading standards didn't get back to me. Life or death situation didn't get back to me. What does that tell you? Can anybody speak up about them? Her primary reasoning was that most EVs hitting the used market for the first time are between 2 and 5 years old. So what? What difference does that make? Are you telling me that a 2 to 5 year old vehicle can't run over a piece of debris, can't have been mistreated, can't have gone off-road, can't have gone over a speed bump? The speed bumps, when they put the speed bumps in at the Capital Centre at Preston, some of the cars that I went for my Starbucks coffee in bottomed out, and that was just creeping over it at 5 miles an hour. They still bottomed out. And I've heard, when I've been in Starbucks, I've heard some cars go over it and really smashed the bottom of the car in. Who's to say one of these 2 to 5 year old EVs hasn't been to my local Starbucks at the Capital Centre with manufacturer's warranties typically lasting 8 years? The batteries are still fully covered against failure and serious loss of capacity, but not damage. So they will still have a warranty on that battery, McAteer said. However, she quickly introduced a crucial caveat that fleet managers and used car buyers ignore at their peril. Now we're getting to it, aren't we? The physical state of health, SOH, of the battery, she argued, is less important than its accompanying service history. But EVs don't need servicing. What's critical though is the service history still, and it's probably even more critical now than it has ever been, she explained. I repeat, EVs don't need servicing. The reason for this increased scrutiny lies with the manufacturers themselves. McAteer highlighted a worrying trend where OEMs are wriggling out of the warranties due to specific clauses buried in the small print of their service conditions. Unless you've done this or unless you've done that, they're wriggling out of the warranties on those batteries, she said. So that's the thing that you need to consider, because it's all about how that servicing has been done to make sure that the traction battery is still operable in the way that it should be. The sentiment was echoed by other panel members who focused on the broader issue of market perception. Craig Ford, head of sales, marketing and digital solutions at Motability Operations, felt that for younger cars the health check was unnecessary from a technical standpoint. Trust me, it's not. There are EVs for sale on Auto Trader that have been written off and sold on BCA even. BCA are selling heavily damaged electric vehicles. There is no way that an economically written off EV that's had bad accident damage should be allowed back on the road. And there is no way that they should sell it to somebody who is just going to repair it in the garage, because the amount of private sale written off EVs on Auto Trader shows there's a problem. It shows that poorly repaired EVs are coming back onto the market when they shouldn't be. Your neighbour could have one. There could be one in the Channel Tunnel. There could be one on the ferry. I think on a 3-year-old car, it's not really a problem, Ford stated. Ford's an idiot. He pointed to Motability's own battery protection scheme as evidence. We sold 10,000 of them with our battery protection, and that is if you buy a car and it comes under the 90% capacity, then we'll take it back. I think in the younger vehicles, I don't think battery health is really an issue. It is. Stuart Chamberlain, head of B2B and partnerships at leasing giant Arval, agreed that certification acts more as a psychological tonic for the market. It just helps take away one of those barriers. No, it doesn't. It provides proof that you're not going to take it home, put it up your drive, start charging it, and it burns your house down and kills your family. So if you think that, you are a moron. And you shouldn't be doing your job. You just shouldn't be doing your job. And not only that, you should also know that an EV with a battery state of health certificate brings more than one without. So therefore, when you're disposing of your EVs that have been out on lease, and they have a battery state of health certificate, which costs what? At the most 35 quid? You know, that's basically for a contract. If you do 10, if you do 20, it costs 17 and a half. If you do more, if you do 100, it costs £3.50, but it brings more. So you're a moron. I can't think of any nice way to state it. Your cars with a battery state of health certificate will bring more money. It is in Arvel's interest to provide battery state of health certificates. Why can you not see that? Why do you have to put out this stupid story in Fleet News that fleet managers will read? And fleet managers who don't know what they're doing might believe you, Chamberlain said, referring to the pervasive negative mainstream media. It's just trying to fill that gap of confidence and take away something of the noise about batteries, with people saying, I can't buy a used EV because the battery is ruined, and all that sort of thing. That's just stupid. Nobody says that. How do they know the battery's ruined without the certificate? So why don't you put certificates on all your cars and build up confidence? One thing about sales, overcoming objections. If you can't overcome an objection, you give the customer a reason not to buy a car. If you overcome all his objections and he likes the car, he's going to buy it. So I suggest that you are in the wrong job and all that sort of thing. Chamberlain also offered a pragmatic view on the physical impact of degradation. With most warranties guaranteeing a health of 70 to 80% after 8 years, the actual loss in range is often minimal. What about damage? Mistreatment? If dropped to 80% in 7 years, all you've lost is 15 miles on it. 15 miles every time you charge. If dropped to 80% in 7 years, all you've lost is 15 miles on it. So what does it matter, he asked. You've lost 15 miles every time you charge. If you lose 15 miles per charge...
So if an EV battery has a range of 75 miles and it loses 20% of its range, how many more times would that mean that you would have to stop to charge if you did 10,000 miles per year and you ran the battery down to 20% each time? Start with the original battery range. Original range, 75 miles. You only use it down to 20%, so you use 80% of that each cycle. Usable range per full cycle, 75 times 0.8 equals 60 miles per charge. So originally, 10,000 miles, 60 miles per cycle equals 166.67, or 167 charging stops per year if you round it up. After losing 20% range, battery loses 20%. 75 times 0.8 equals 60 mile full range. Usable to 20%, 60 times 0.8 equals 48 miles per cycle. Now your usable range per charge is 48 miles, so 10,000 miles divided by 48 miles per cycle equals 208. 208 charging stops per year. Extra charging stops. Original 167, after degradation 208. The difference is 208 minus 167 equals 41 extra charging stops per year. It does kind of matter. And what about the time spent charging? It matters a lot.
Now this is what I can't understand. Am I doing something wrong here? If dropped to 80% in 7 years, all you've lost is 15 miles on it. So what does it matter, he asked. Stuart Chamberlain, head of B2B and partnerships at leasing giant Arval, if dropped to 80% in 7 years, all you've lost is 15 miles on it. So what does it matter, he asked. What's 20% of? 75 miles? I don't trust my own brain here because, as I say, this to be the head of B2B and partnerships at leasing giant Arval, he must be a lot cleverer than me. Most people are. Before you say it, most people are. So let's just ask Siri. Hey Siri, what is 20% of 75?
20% times 75 is 15.
So, Stuart Chamberlain, head of B2B and partnerships at leasing giant Arval, thinks that the range of an EV, average range of an EV, is 75 miles. But the funny thing is, if it is 75 miles and he's right, 15 miles on it, so what does it matter? So you've got 60 miles. You're only supposed to charge to 80%. So that's 12 minus 60. So that's 48. And then you're only supposed to go down to 20%. So you've got a range of 36 miles. Of course it matters, you moron. For McAteer, the solution to the confidence gap is far simpler than complex certification processes. With a Volt Test diagnostic machine, it takes 2 minutes and you get a printout. It's not complex, is it? Saying it comes down to transparency in providing information. It's that bit of communication, she said. Put a bloody great big sticker on the front of that vehicle saying how many miles it can do. Real world. That's what's needed. Real world. The people of your conference giving information out like that don't really inspire confidence in your whatever it was. You make me think that nobody who's selling EVs, providing EVs, trying to dispose of them on the second-hand market knows what they're talking about. And if they don't know what they're talking about, how can they tell the truth about them? You lot need to wise up. You are destroying the motor trade with your inane drivel. It's just stupid talk, pathetic. And while you have people like this giving advice, EVs will have to be discounted to sell them, will have to be virtually given away to sell them. And also the used vehicles, unless they do something to build customer confidence in them, they will keep dropping like a stone. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.